Here, Mr. Rosenberg will be here later. He's got back to school night at his school. Yeah, he'll be here. He'll be here. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, isn't it? We're on live, right, guys? Okay. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies in which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fairlawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, time, and place thereof, was distributed on September 1, 2021. Items discussed during closed work session. Do we have to go back to the closed work session? Okay. May include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations, and no grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Would you join me in a flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Norcia has some comments, and I believe it's going to be all about the district goals. So, turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Interestingly enough, before we get to the district goal portion of the meeting presentation, I was sitting in a meeting earlier today with Superintendent Roundtable, the superintendents from Bergen County, and we kind of put our heads together and realized that this was the first full week of school with all our students together since March of 2020 in 18 months. So it was, a struggle, but it feels good to see our students actively engaged back in school, excited to be there again. So it's great to be back. It's great that we're moving forward. With that, there's business that needs to get done tonight, and one of them is our district goals. We know that at the last meeting there was a concern with the district goals. There were some questions that came up, and conversation and healthy dialogue amongst the board and the community. So we decided at that point, that we were going to solicit input from the community and our staff, and that's exactly what we did. So I believe Mr. Smidell, if I'm not mistaken, put you on the spot. You had mentioned the West Orange survey. We had looked at the West Orange survey. We had tailored the Fairlawn survey so that it will look like the West Orange survey, but to suit our needs. We changed some of the questioning and the wording based off of the feedback that we received. We sent that survey out. So what you have here, all the board members, you actually have a presentation in front of you. The public, you have the large screen that you can see. The results have been placed on our website. This PowerPoint will be placed on our website tonight or tomorrow morning, as well as all the comments that we received from our community, our parents, as well as the students, as well as the staff. So we have in front of you the community and staff input that we received in the form of a PowerPoint. I will go through all those slides. District goals survey for the community and staff. You'll actually see the survey questions again. You'll see the results of the survey questions. You'll see the new district goals that are proposed to you, and you'll see some sample action items, evidence, and a timeline for completion. I believe that was asked as well. How will we know that there's evidence or action items? So we included that in the presentation as well. So you can see here on this slide, there is a mix of who completed this survey in our community. Clearly, it might be a little tough for you to see up there, but the big green is TJ, the big red is Fairlawn High School, and purple is Memorial. So you can see the larger schools represent the larger pies of this circle, and the smaller schools, clearly the smaller slides. And you can see every
grade represented here on the slides as well.
The first question that was asked was an assessment to guide instruction, the analysis of student performance, data to address student needs. And we asked you to rate this by importance, least important to you, to most important to you. And this came out at 64.1%. Yes. You got it, Liz? Yeah. On the YouTube?
YouTube.
Okay. We'll take a second. Take a water break.
How long would you like us to wait for? It's going to, I'll ask him a little while. Let me finish the presentation first, if you don't mind.
Any luck, guys?
Still working.
Good? All right. So we're going to, I'll back up real quick.
Just for our public who may have missed it on watching from home. But
The district goal,
obviously, based off of the last Board of Education meeting, we decided to
revisit the district goals.
we surveyed our community, we surveyed our staff, and we had staggering results. And I say staggering, we had about 1,825 or 1,827 responses from our community, which actually represents a third of our parents, which is pretty good. We had about 227 or so, or 270, we'll see when we get in there, from our staff that participated as well in this survey. We did it by asking the community and staff input, district goal survey. You'll see the survey questions, the survey results. You'll see the new district goals that are proposed, and you'll actually see the sample action items as well.
What you will not see here tonight,
But it will be on the website tomorrow morning, are actually all of the comments that we received from the parents. The comments and what they were recommending or what their suggestions were, or just any comments about anything, will be on the website tomorrow morning. The comments, I'll start at the back and move forward, but the comments, there wasn't a theme amongst the comments that stood out, that was staggering, that 80 people wanted Nick to put a pool in his backyard. That wasn't there. Would have been nice, but that wasn't there.
there was no one survey response or other question that had a theme amongst it, that had 10, 15, 20, 30 people that said, you know what, this would be a great idea if we created this program. It was 2, 3, 4,
A lot of people saying get rid of masks, stuff like that, but that's not going to be a district goal to get rid of masks.
This is the
breakdown of the community survey responses by school, by grade, and then the first question, the assessment to guide instruction. I'm going to go through this a little bit quick, not because I'm rushing it, but you'll see why. I'm going to show you a comparison of each question, the same percentages you see here, from the community to the staff, and how they're rated. That's what's been on our website too for the last week, if you've seen it. We put it up last Friday on the website, so you may have had a chance to look at it already. So here was a community response on assessment to guide instruction, coming in at 64%. Addressing learning gaps at 67%. College and career readiness at 64%. Social and emotional learning at 77%. Educational technology at 57%. And if you remember, this was actually one of our original district goals. Not to steal our own thunder here, but this dropped down to the least, so it's not part of the goals that we're recommending tonight. And mental health at 77%. If you looked at the staff, you can see a mix. The big blue pie is actually the teachers, who naturally make up the majority of our staff. Assessment to guide instruction, 39.8%. Addressing learning gaps, 51.5%. College and career readiness, 42%. Social emotional learning, 65%. And educational technology, 34%. And last but not least, mental health at 70.8%. The next slide is the one that I'm referring to that makes it a little bit easier for you to see. What we did here was we took all of those questions, the 6 goals that we started with in the survey, and we ranked them from the ones that had most important to least important, and then we compared them to the staff as well. What was staggering about this, and which I'm really glad that we did this, what was staggering about this was that the community and the staff were exactly the same. So what our community felt was most important was mental health. What our staff felt was most important was mental health. And then the next goal was social emotional learning. The next goal was addressing learning gaps, college and career readiness, assessment to guide instruction, and then educational technology last. Now, I will tell you that it was a close race, if you want to call it a race, between assessment to guide instruction at 64.1% and college and career readiness at 64.2%. What we did was we crafted a goal, 2 goals within one, because it was so close, and we were utilizing assessments to drive our learning by identifying those academic gaps. So we're going to utilize assessments, identify academic gaps to drive education and learning in the district. So we were able to take those 2 goals, they were so close, and wrap them up into one goal. In addition, college and career readiness, I've seen some comments and I've seen some, people say, Nick, college and career readiness, that's only really for 12th graders. It's not. It's starting at a young age. It's getting our students ready. It's thinking. It's preparing for post-secondary. We all could agree here that, we always say, it'll be over before you know it. In a blink of an eye, what we're seeing. This is getting our students at the middle school level ready for high school and post-secondary. Based off of those results, these are the new 4 crafted proposed goals in front of the board tonight to support the mental health and social emotional well-being of staff and students by providing programs and services that foster positive relationships, nurture a sense of community and security, promote efficacy and self-help skills, and address mental health challenges as we transition back to full-time in-person instruction. The second goal is to develop a social emotional learning program at the middle and high school levels that builds upon the CASEL, which is Collaborative Academic Social and Emotional Learning Framework, self-awareness, self-management, self-awareness, relationship skills, and reasonable decision-making. The third goal, my apologies, is to use multiple assessment data to identify and address student learning gaps, ensuring student progress towards the New Jersey Student Learning standards. And the last goal is to provide students with the necessary skills to plan education and career paths aligned to their personal goals. We took it one step further, and for each goal, we put an action plan together, a fluid action plan, mind you, because this could change over time as we start working on this. We actually had this action plan put together, obviously ahead of time in preparation for tonight. And at my county meeting today, we were speaking amongst a bunch of superintendents, and I was also on a webinar earlier with superintendents from all over the state. And one of the things came up about mental health that was a really good professional development opportunity or something that we could potentially utilize. And Mr. Franco and I were speaking, and we were like, ooh, that may be something that we may want to add to our action items at a later time if it's something we want to entertain. This is a fluid document. This is not something that we just put out there and then this is it and this is all we're going to do to hit the mental health goal. We're going to continuously look at this as time goes by to address these. We also have an action plan for social and emotional learning. We have an action plan for addressing learning gaps and an action plan for college and career readiness. Did you want to talk about a couple sample items on those action plans? So Ms. Camille DeFranco, our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, is going to speak about a couple mental health action plan items and a couple of the social emotional learning action plan items. And Dr. Natalie Lacatina, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, will talk about college and career readiness and also assessment to identify addressing the learning gaps.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Camille DeFranco, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, and I'm here to talk to you about mental health and social and emotional learning. I'm going to go through some of the action items that we'd like to talk about in terms of what we'd like to accomplish for the year. Again, Mr. Norcia said this is a fluid document. You may see more that gets added to this by the mid-year point. You may see some adjustments to this by the mid-year point, but we kind of took a look at what was the most pertinent and what would meet the needs of this goal in a timely, of all of these goals in a timely manner. Our first action item is to increase our mental health clinicians at each educational level, and we had spoken about some of this at previous board meetings where we were able to use some of our ARP money to hire additional mental health clinicians for Tier 3 and also Tier 2 support. What I mean by that is Tier 3, our most significant support for students who really need intensive services, and Tier 2 for students who need some more middle ground services. And just as a reminder to everyone here who's listening at home and in the audience, we have 3-tier system of supports here in Fairlawn. We're lucky enough to have that. We also have district level staff, our guidance counselors, our child study team members, our all of our mental health professionals who work at the first steps level for all of our students, and then it phases all the way up with our Care Plus and ESS clinicians. We'd like to also establish within our mental health goal a strong and solid committee integrating our district level staff and our clinical staff that we have so that we could all be on board and be on the same page in terms of any sort of plans or actions that we may need to take in order to support our students' mental health. And increasing and having meetings and having a regular time frame for that level of communication can only foster continuity and consistency as students transition from multiple levels, from kindergarten to grade 4, to grade 5, 6, to grade 7 and 8, and then all the way up into the high school. We have been talking about putting together a crisis response manual for students who need screening and intensive intervention so that we have a fluid process across all of our grade levels, and that students who need that level of screening and that level of care can be identified and receive intervention in a more timely manner have some lasting effect in order to avoid any sort of self-injury or self-harm. And we would also like to provide parent programs that not only center around the integration of students back into the classroom from COVID, but also about general mental health topics. We've already started to have some of these workshops. We had them, we had a schedule that was already posted up on the website. We have some upcoming in the fall. We also have ones throughout the year. We had some that were over the summer for our identified students and parent groups. And finally, we'd like to provide some more professional development on not only student mental health, but staff self-care. Because providing that level of service, excuse me, as I start talking, this starts to fall a little bit. Providing that level of service for our staff is crucial. They are our front lines. We need to make sure that they are feeling good and they are feeling intact in order to provide the best level of teaching to our students. We were lucky enough to be able to partner with the Graph Center in order to receive some self-care training, and that has already started even on our first PD day for our staff district-wide, from our board offices building all the way through our educational level buildings, and that has been wonderful and off to a good start. And always to provide more mental health to our students, which is not only in the format that you would think of students that are identified and then go and see a counselor. This is also to do push-in support. What we mean by that is to have our clinicians push into the classrooms to provide topics in the classrooms that are relevant, coping skills, self-care, self-management, anger management, just general life kind of things that students might need a little bit more help with, and that would occur across multiple grade levels, whether by our clinician or by our guidance counselors, just to let them know that, hey, there are resources available and you can tap into people here. You do have a trusted individual. You do have someone who is here for you, who could listen to you should you need it. So that basically recaps our mental health piece. I'd like to go, if I could, go in to talk about social and emotional learning. As Mr. Norcia said, our social and emotional learning goal is based on the framework of CASTLE, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. That framework consists of certain competencies, and the competencies are the following: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. The first step in order for us to implement this level of programming is to develop a committee, which would be at the secondary level because that's where this goal is focused, because we need to expand our SEL at that level. As mentioned earlier in previous meetings, we have a K-6 program, which is through Stanford Harmony, that has already been implemented within the district, and we need to expand that for grades 7 to 12. We'd like to have a multidisciplinary committee in order to make this happen. And the next level, the next step that we would take after that would be to develop a survey that we can give to students to establish what competencies we need to build in our students. Which of these competencies in terms of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making we might need to bolster, we might need to augment. That might look different for a middle schooler at the 7th and 8th grade level than it would for a high schooler at grades 9, 10, 11, or 12. Once we're able to do that, we'd like to consult with our neighboring districts to see what they offer, what they are doing. Not to say that we have to follow the same exact thing, but sometimes you can get some good ideas from talking to your colleagues. We'd also like to look at various curricular resources to support SEL. And then from there, we can start to develop a framework that we could custom tailor based on the survey, based on those curricular resources to meet the needs of our students in Fairlawn. We would present that to our education committee. We would present those lessons and sample lessons in that format. And then we would also give our teachers professional development regarding this SEL program. And that's basically the summary of those terms.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Lacatina. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Education, and there's no way I'm going to be able to read those action plans, so I'm going to put on my glasses my old lady glasses so that I can read. So the first goal that I'm going to talk to you about is addressing learning gaps. We know that coming off of COVID, we have many concerns. And two of the most frequently heard concerns are our students' social emotional well-being, which Mrs. DeFranco just spoke about, and the other is the learning gaps. You know, my students, they were remote. They weren't always in school. Are they getting the same education they would have gotten in a typical school year? So it's really important for us as educators to identify and then address wherever those learning gaps might be. And so there are several steps that we are going to take, and a lot of that has to do with assessment and constant progress monitoring of our students' achievement towards the mastery of our student learning standards. So we have a variety of assessments we're going to be doing with our students this year, and we're doing it in a formative manner. We are going to be doing data analysis and looking at what are the trends across district, across grade levels in each of the subjects. Are there places in our curriculum where we need to revise what we're doing? Do we need to change the pace? Do we need to change the depth of what we're doing? And so we are going to be using lots of this assessment data to do those kinds of things. It informs our instruction in the classroom. So we are very fortunate that we have a new program this year called Link It. It's a data warehousing program, but it also provides really strong analytics for us. So we can give benchmarks in literacy and math to all of our students. And what we can do is take that data from the beginning of the year, and again, we analyze it to find out where are the trends, but also where are individual students struggling towards meeting grade level goals and grade level standards. And then we're going to give those benchmarks again in the winter, and we're going to give them again at the end of the year. And again, we're going to be able to track our students' growth and see how they are doing in literacy and math. We also have Start Strong assessments, which will be administered in October. Those are assessments that we are giving in place of the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. We were unable to give that in this past spring. So we are using a shortened version of that. It's required by the State Department of Education, and we are going to give that assessment to our students in October. Again, another set of data for us to use to see where are our students in the area of literacy and math, so we know how to best help them and address their needs. We are going to be doing much more frequent conferencing in reading and writing with our students, again, to inform our instruction. We are identifying those critical skills and knowledge that students need in each of our subject areas so that that will help us learn how to address our curriculum. Do we need to change some of the skills we're teaching? Do we need to do it more in depth? We are looking at scaffolding skills for our students, providing them with the support they need to master those critical skills that they need in each of our grade levels. We are also going to be providing after-school support for our children. And again, we were fortunate enough to receive money through ESSER funds, and we are going to be using those, and those academies will probably start sometime in November. We're going to use lots of the data I just talked about to help with the identification process and to help form the instructional guides for those programs. And then finally, we're going to, towards the end of the school year, start making plans for what we are going to offer for our summer programs for our students in need. And finally, our last goal is college and career readiness. So this goal is really focused on helping our students to identify and plan for their future education goals, their future career goals. So one thing that we have been focusing on in recent years in the high school are our CTE, or Career and Technical Education programs. And so we started work on taking a look at what courses do we have, what do we think we can improve upon that we might get approval for another program. CTE programs, there are 16 career clusters that they focus around, and these programs help give our students more hands-on engaging experiences that will help give them the competencies they need in order to be successful in careers in their future. And so we are looking to establish, hopefully, a CTE program in the area of accounting and finance. And so we are hoping to present to the board in October with our basic outline of what we think that program would look like. And then in November, we need to apply to the State Department for approval. And then once we get that, we can continue to develop that program. So that's one area that we are hoping to be able to implement this year for our students at the high school level. We're also going to be making much better use of Naviance, which is a program that helps our students plan for colleges and careers. We are looking into another one called NJ Can, which is another career. It is actually, I'm sorry, my glasses. New Jersey Career Assistance Navigator, again, helping our students be able to identify their strengths, identify their passions and interests, so we can design programs for them here in Fair Lawn that help them achieve their goals regarding college and career. We are also going to be implementing 8th grade seminars for our students so that they can better understand high school offerings. What is available? What are the courses that are available to you? What are the opportunities available? The electives? What are your graduation requirements? So really putting together a much stronger program for our 8th graders, because we find that they don't always really understand what they, number one, have to do, and number two, what their options are. So we're going to be putting together a much stronger program for that for our students. We are also talking about bringing Naviance down into the middle school. Right now it's just in the high school. We want to bring that down to our 8th grade students so they can start thinking a little more seriously about their college and career path prior to entering the high school. And then finally, we're going to be taking a look at our personal financial literacy goal, our course rather. We have some new standards coming out. Some of them are focused on not just how to manage your finances, but one of the new things is understanding sort of the emotions or the psychology behind finances. Why do we want to buy something? What do we do with those needs versus those wants versus what our needs are? So there are some new standards coming out, and I apologize, there is a typo. It says 9.2. It's supposed to be 9.1, so I will fix that so we can get that correct. And then finally, we have career readiness and life literacy skills that will be incorporated across our curriculum. So again, helping our students to think globally, be critical thinkers, understanding how to communicate in this technological world that we have, understanding how to understand online, how do you vet if something is true or reliable as a source of information online, and how do we communicate responsibly in our world in that way. So these are some of our action items. Again, as Mr. Norcia said, this is a living, breathing document which is going to be flexible throughout the year. We might add things, we might change a timeline and do it, we might be able to accomplish some of these tasks quicker. So we will keep updating it and putting it on the website for everybody to see as we progress through the school year. Thank you.
There? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Board members, questions or comments? Vlad?
Just sound on YouTube still does not work. Fixed?
We just told it was fixed.
Okay. And is Google Form on? Can people ask questions?
Google Form is, it is on. Anyone else? Ron?
What is the intent of introducing trades to the students? And also, what about a career day to get different types of careers in here? I'm just curious.
It's been a goal of ours here in Fairlawn to continue to increase the opportunities for trade programs. You know that we've always talked about partnering up with Bergen Tech to the best degree possible. Last year, we were able to start to have courses at the high school be acknowledged as career technical education for the first time ever, which allows us to receive Perkins funding and help our programs grow. And I think that's what Dr. Lacatina was alluding to with the second course now that we're trying to create a CTE track. So you know that I will always push to have as many trades programs as possible, because it's not just about educating one group of students here and one group of students here. It's about personalized learning for all students, which, if you remember, is one of our goals of our 5-year strategic plan as well. Personalized learning and academic excellence for all. So yes, thank you. We will be looking into the trades. We'll continue to look into the trades, and we will also discuss a career day.
Also, what about, years ago, we had started Pathways. One of our former guidance counselors started Pathways, which was pretty good in high school. By sophomore year, if a student kind of had an idea where they wanted to go, kind of guided them through their classes to head into that direction. Are we still using that in the schools, or did that go by the wayside?
No, it hasn't gone by the wayside, but we'll report back out on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to personally thank the superintendent and the administration for listening to my recommendation a few weeks ago, actually, regarding community input and also staff input. It's apparent that you did listen to the community and staff, because there was a change made to the district goals for what they wanted to be included. So I thank you for following through on this. And I will vote in favor of these goals tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spindella. And listen, just because we've done something in Fairlawn the same way for years and years and years doesn't mean that we're never going to adapt and learn and change things. If there was one thing that came out of this survey that satisfied me or made me feel really good as superintendent, it would be the fact that when the results came in, that the community and the staff were completely aligned, and that they felt that these were the most important things. And there wasn't one goal out of the 6 that they were off on. So that just reassured that we're moving in the right direction here in Fairlawn. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Santana.
This is comments on the presentation, right?
On the presentation, yes.
Yes. I would also like to thank the superintendent, and Dr. Lacatina and Mrs. DeFranco for the presentation. But I would like to thank the board for approving the motion that I made last meeting to delay the approval of the goals, because I felt, and all the other board members felt, especially those who voted for the motion, to allow for more input from our staff and the parents, and I see that it was definitely worth it. I support the goals. I would like to have all the goals that the community and the staff express interest for, but I would like to know, Mr. Norcia, the social and emotional learning goal. It refers to middle school and high school students, but in the action plan, it only refers to 7th to 12th grade. And we do have fifth graders and 6th graders. Why is that?
Because our current Sanford Harmony curriculum for social emotional learning that was part of our district goals a couple years ago actually goes kindergarten through 6th grade. So we already have a social emotional learning curriculum, Sanford Harmony, goes kindergarten through 6th grade. So now we're looking for 7 through 12 to marry the two curriculums.
All right. I think this is a very important goal along with mental health. For mental health, I really would like to see a lot of emphasis on ensuring that our students are aware of the services that we have available. You know, I don't want to hear a former student coming up here and said, I wish I knew you had this program, when we had the program all along. So I think the key is communication. And this is one of the reasons that I wanted our meetings to be televised on the municipal access channel, because the more people that know what we're doing in the programs we have available, the greater the greater the amount of people we can help with mental resources. Social emotional learning, how, Mr. Norcia, how would this goal help decrease bullying in our district?
The ultimate goal of social emotional learning is to have people be more self-aware, kind, work well with others, to maybe go up to a friend that you're not typically friends with and introduce yourself to them. So if we live in a world where we teach kindness and empathy and sympathy, and we do it the right way, hopefully it should decrease bullying.
Thank you. I definitely support the goal of addressing learning gaps. I'm particularly interested in the math portion because, as you know, those of you who are educators and the parents here, you know, math builds upon prior knowledge. So, you know, I really want to see, I really would like to see the district having, make a greater emphasis on math. College and career readiness. Mr. Norcia, I think you answered some of the part of the question that I have, but why in particular was accounting and finance chosen? Why did the district choose those areas versus other areas?
Dr. Lacatina had addressed that, but I'm going to ask her if she would mind just touching on it again.
We basically chose this area because we already had at least 2 courses that we believed would be approvable out of the 3. So this was something that we are very close to, hopefully attaining approval for. So we did not have to start from scratch with building and developing 3 brand new curricula.
You know, I support it, but you know, when I think about trades, I view accounting and financing as an academic track. I don't view it as a trade. And what I would like to see is the district also offering what many board members that, you know, that I recall, that we offer a trade, you know, that we train our students who are interested in the trades, you know, electric, plumbing, and, you know, not all of our students will go to a 4-year college, and, you know, that we have something for them also, because it is a career, and, you know, we have many outstanding citizens of Fairlawn who have made a career in trades, and we have a board member here.
30
who's in the
seconds,
trade.
Mr. Santana.
And just to end, Mr. Norcia, I would like to see a greater, like I said, greater emphasis in math in our schools. I would like to see our kids learn coding. I know the board does not tell the district what to teach, but I think coding is a 21st century skill, and that is something that our students will need by the time they are
Time, sir.
age. Excuse me?
I said time. Your 5
Okay.
minutes is up.
All right, I'll go a second time later.
Thank you for your comments.
Rita?
Hello, can you hear me? My first question is the Linkit test. Will it count towards the student's grade, or it's just they take a test and it counts for what? Besides, understanding where their gaps are? How are they assessed with it?
Yeah, these do not count as part of a student's grade. Again, they are just formative in nature for us to help understand where our students are at along their path to mastery of our standards. So we use that to help inform our instruction.
Okay. For the career and college readiness, I have a little question. I don't see any help with SATs, applying to college, financial aid. Is any of that going to be provided?
So these action plans are basically newer things that we're putting into place. Our high school guidance counselors work with our students on financial aid and applying for college. That stuff is already in place at the high school. So this is not really reiterating the things we're already doing. This is sort of the plan to improve upon what we're already doing.
With all due respect, I graduated several years ago, a long time ago. When I was a student, I met with my counselor once, and that was it, and I was on my own. I'm not sure if this is still happening, but if it is, I would, if I could go back, I would want to be more counseled by my counselors and have a more understanding of how to do everything, because when I was a student, I really did not get any help. Especially SATs. We had to pay $1,000 using private companies, and not every parent, including my parent, could afford it. And SATs can give you a scholarship. They can open doors that others, grades can't just open doors. And I think it's important, since one of our goals is college readiness, SAT would be important to consider, at least even after school or something.
Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to know is, why are trades not even at least thought of how to implement or just to develop a program or something?
For what?
Trades, not everybody's going to go to college, and that is okay. They should be, when they finish high school, they should have some kind of skill that could help them get a job.
So we do have some trade programs here. We have a woods program here. We have a culinary arts program here. We have an architecture and STEAM program here. Prior to your arrival on the board, we had met as a board, and we were working with the county to potentially look to open up more trade programs here in Fair Lawn. There was federal funding and a vote that went along with it. Unfortunately, that money, the funding just dried up, and it was never able to take off here in Fair Lawn. However, it is something that we always entertain that conversation. Unfortunately, after that happened, COVID hit, and it was 18 months that we were out of school, so I don't think anybody was really talking about opening a trade school program or trade programs at that time. The emphasis was on getting the schools back open in a safe manner, but it is definitely something that's dear to my heart and something that we will continue to look at if it's possible.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion for the board and the public to hear at least 3 times the progress on these goals a year, and so that as what Mr. Matt Lee said during our board retreat, that he wants 4, but at least 3.
Second.
That's not going to be a motion.
I'm sorry.
I just second the motion.
A motion is a
Hold
motion.
on. Hold on. First of all, Nick is talking to the attorney.
I just would like to explain to the attorney first, and then you can take it from here. Currently, what we do is we introduce goals in the beginning of the school year. We do a mid-year goal update in January in public for everybody to hear where we stand with our goals. And then the goals, how we did at the end of the year, are presented in May or June on how we did.
I apologize, but I couldn't hear the question.
We had a board retreat this Saturday with Matt Lee, which is the person who helps us and leads us. He said he recommends 4 times a year. So for us to get updates on the goals. That's his goal. That's his from the New Jersey School Boards Association.
That's not entirely what Mr. Lee had said. He talked about that some boards do that, and they could recommend up to 4 times a year, but every board is different and every district is different. And as I said at that meeting, it's pretty much October at this point. We are reintroducing district goals to you. We are going to give you an update in January, and then we report back out in June. So if you wanted us to provide another update in a month or so, I mean, you see the action plan ahead of us. For us to provide an update in a month really isn't giving us a lot of time to hit the ground running, especially when we're starting a month later. This has been working for us, the update mid-year, but I'll leave that up to the board.
I made a motion and I would like the board
Could you just
to-
explain to me, just say one more time the motion?
I would like for the board and the public to hear 3 times a year to updates on the progress of these goals and how, what's changing, how is it getting better or worse, or what do they need?
Okay,
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Isn't there any discussion?
Hold, you know, are we going to, I'll take some comments. I just don't want to do 5 and 8. I don't want to do 8 minutes per person on this motion, okay?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
Rather than making a motion on it, why can't we just ask Nick if he's in agreement with doing it? That's the easiest way to do it.
I'm actually not in agreement with doing it. I'm not in agreement with doing it because, as I stated at the meeting on Saturday morning, is once again, we're pretty much in October. Next month, we're presenting out on our district performance report, which is test scores. So if we continue to do presentations at board meetings, something is going to give if you want an update almost on an every month or every month basis. We've been doing a mid-year update, which many districts do, on their goals, and then at the end of the year is presented to the board, and I am actually evaluated on the completion of those goals. So I don't, to have 3 times to do it, an update on the goals, to me, it's not, I don't think it's beneficial, I don't think it's practical, and I don't think it's needed, because we've been doing really well pushing this district forward with our goals in years past. It's just my recommendation as superintendent.
Ms. Santana, you want to say something?
Yes, we all due respect, Mr. I'm going to address my comments to the board. Okay, we all due respect. We just learned this weekend from the New Jersey School Board Association trainer that it is a best practice to give frequent updates. Now, the board, I strongly encourage our fellow board members to support this. This is not, I believe, this is not a burden on the administration. It's one more update out of the 2 they already do. Now, the superintendent is correct. They're starting later because we want greater input from the staff and the community, which is a great thing. It makes this goal stronger and better because of the input from the community and the staff. But I believe, as a board member, and I happen to be an educator for a living and a parent of a young child, it is in the best interest of our children for us to have more than 2 updates in 10 months. Sorry, in 9 months, because September doesn't count. So one more meeting by our talented and well-qualified district leadership is not a burden, in my humble opinion. And in this country, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. One meeting, one more update is not going to be a burden on anyone, because we have great leadership under the leadership of the superintendent. So I believe the motion by Ms. Fabelevic is the right way. It's based on the opinion of a best practice trainer from the New Jersey School Board Association, and it's in the best interest of our children. 2 updates in 9 months is not enough on these important goals. 3 updates will be the least. I would like 4 updates, but 3 updates will be what I will settle for. And I ask my fellow board members to vote yes.
Julie.
Thank you. I just want to also be very clear. Best practice that Mr. Lee also provided to us last Saturday was that we not surprise the board or surprise our administration, and that we heed advice from our administrators. And Mr. Norcia is very clearly delineating that he feels that is a burden. So whether I quantify burden differently than Mr. Norcia, he is the leader of our district, and we need to heed his advice, as well as Mr. Lee's, who's saying that we shouldn't be surprising our administration or the board. So I'm actually going to abstain from this motion because you have put me on the offensive and asked me to make a decision that I do not feel like I have information enough to make a decision, which also was discussed at last week's retreat, where everyone who has either made the motion or seconded the motion stated they want to have all the information. So you are asking us to do something that you always say you can't do.
Rita?
I just want to clarify. We get the district, you give the public in the middle of the year. At the end of the year, I don't remember, maybe I'm wrong, does the public get also an update or only board members?
Only, well, we've done it two ways, actually. Last year, it was the board members received one. Years past, the public actually got one as well. So we could always provide one for the public at the end of the year, one in the middle of the year, and one at the end of the year.
And it will be on all of the goals, because last year it was only on the first goal, not the other goals. Maybe I
No,
misunderstood.
we always present on all of the goals. We actually usually bring an army of administrators and staff members who really get granular and talk about the goals in depth in the middle of the year.
I just think it would be better, even if it's 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be a 3-hour presentation, but at least we can see how the goals are going. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Mark?
I'm going to be abstaining because I was not at the meeting on Saturday. I do not know what was said. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please. For the resolution, yes.
Microphone, please.
Yeah, you can't hear you. You got to do the mic. The motion, I'm sorry, the motion.
It's the motion on the floor right now for the three updates a year.
The motion on the floor right now, that the administration report the progress on the goals to the public and the board 3 times during the year. Mr. Barbarulo? No. Mr. Itkin?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
No.
Mr. Spindell?
I abstain.
Ms. Fabelevich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan? No. Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
No. Motion does not carry. Okay, thank you. At this point, I'm going to take comments from the public on the district goals.
Mr. Banta,
Yes,
I didn't finish my 3 minutes. Or
but
5
we
minutes.
voted.
No,
I'm
talking about,
confused.
the
Oh,
board.
for the other stuff?
Yeah.
Not for
No,
this? Oh, okay, go
for
ahead.
this, I was-
All right, then I'll do let Ms. Village.
I just wanted to wonder, on the agenda that is provided to the public, it skips a page for every single thing. I just want you to be aware, so the public is not able to see all of the things that we are going to go over. Yes, I want to show you. I went to check all of them. I thought it was just my copy. Every page, it goes 1, 3, it's all odd pages, no evens.
All right, can I have a motion to take a recess for 5 minutes so Ms. Norcia can,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? Thank you.
Before I go,
Be right back.
can I get a raise of hand? How many code, or you may have brought one from home. By using the QR code, you could actually see the whole entire agenda on your phone. How many people actually need a copy of the agenda so I don't kill an extra tree? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What's that? So 4. I actually may have 4 here, believe it or not.
Can we send it to print from?
Thank you. Have the board members back to the dais, please. Okay, we're back. Pat, could you call a roll, please?
Mr. Barbarulo? Ms. Pavelovich? Mr. Itkin?
Present.
Mrs. Mahan? Present. Ms. Quackenbush?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg? Mr. Santana? Mr. Santana?
Here.
Mr. Spindell? Present. Mr. Banta?
Here. Okay, before we realize the error, I was going to take comments from the public on the board goals. So if you just step up to the microphone, state your name, keep your comments to 3 minutes. You'll be timed by the attorney, and that's it. So just step up and state your name, please.
Alba Morales. We don't do the address anymore, right? Do we do the address or no?
Oh, I'm sorry? No address.
No. Okay. Nick, I think this is a job well done by the district. You have stated not only the goals, but benchmarks that can be evaluated over time. And I think that gives us a sense of what to expect in this new year. So I think that's wonderful. I think there are really small steps for mental health that can be taken at a small level in the schools, like getting the kids outside a little bit more. I know it's just the beginning of the year, but my kids have been having phys ed either inside or watching videos. I think getting them out and running them a little bit will work wonders for their mental state. It's a long day with a mask, and I know they're taking breaks, which is wonderful, but just getting them out for phys ed and for lunch, that will be a great addition for mental health tactics. I also think that the teachers maybe can have little breaks during the day for a little breathing techniques, and maybe your healthcare professionals can just give them a few tips that they can implement within the classroom. And these are really cheap little techniques, I don't know, meditation or just breathing, that can help the teacher and the students at the same time. So probably you have a great team of professionals behind you that can have just little techniques for the teachers to implement in the classroom. I know a few kids are having a rough time. I saw a few tears, at least at the elementary school level, and it is rough. We're transitioning from, virtual hybrid to a full day. So all these little things will help. I also know firsthand a lot of kids in the middle school that are having issues, and they don't know how to ask for help until it's sometimes a little too late. So having those health professionals in the classroom trying to help them with coping mechanisms or how to ask for help will be huge at that level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alba.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Antonelli. I'm a resident. Two
Can you
children.
talk a little closer to the mic? We have trouble hearing you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going over the district and community goals prioritized by importance. Out of this, you have roughly 1,800 parents that responded and 274 staff members that responded. I'm trying to grasp these numbers here. Maybe you could explain it. The assessment for guide to, I'm sorry, this is really small. Assessment to guide instruction, 64% of the parents that responded, or they found that to be important as one of the goals for the district. But it seems that only 39% of the instructors or staff find that to be important. And this is like how you assess how the students are learning from what I can understand. Now, of course, I'm basing this on one sentence that states, assessment to guide instruction, the analysis of student performance data to address student needs. Am I clear in reading this? Only 39% of staff think that's important?
That is the number, yes.
Okay, I would think our staff would think that that would be a little more important. I understand the 70% mental health, and the college career readiness. Only 42% of the staff feel that that's important.
Without actually speaking to each person who filled out the survey, I think it would be a little presumptuous of me to comment on that. But what I will say to you, and I know this is public comment section of the board and not public Q&A section, but I'd be happy to just take a jab at it.
Okay.
You know, we are coming out of a worldwide pandemic. Even prior to the worldwide pandemic, mental health is a real issue in this country and in this world. If our students and our staff and us, if we're not in a good frame of mind, academics mean nothing. We need to ensure that our students are coming into class and are in a good frame of mind and feel good about school before we can, let me finish, please.
Okay.
Before we can get to academics. If we try to tackle academics without getting to our students who may have some underlying issues that we need to work on, it's going to be counterproductive. So but once again, I don't want to speak for the people that filled out these survey results because you may be sitting here. And I don't want to speak for why you may have filled out a 5 or a 4 or a 3 for anything. We allowed the data to drive the decisions here with this, but it was also supported by what the community felt, what the staff felt, and also what our original goals were, as well as what our original goals were year by year by year that we've been building on when it comes to mental health.
No,
Just my humble 2 cents.
and I agree with I think the 70% number for the mental health is somewhat acceptable. As far as the parents go, different parents feel different needs are more important than others, and they come from a wide variety of different backgrounds, diverse cultures we have, all different things. But I'm really focused on the 39% of the assessment to guide instruction. That's just baffling to me that only 39% of 274 staff members who responded only feel that that's important. But that's really all, I've been fixated on that for the last hour, so
Gotcha.
that was it. Thank you very much.
No, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Roy Gal. I have 2 boys in TJ. My comment question is regarding mental health. It was stated that K through 6 already has a program. I don't know when it was initiated, but I know since the transition to TJ, a lot have changed for 5th and 6th graders. So I want to make sure that maybe we take a look at that program again, maybe tweak, make some changes. 5th and 6th are now with older kids. They are treated different. They have different stress. So just to make sure, I don't think K and 6 should be together if we've already separated and moved the younger ones into TJ.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, sir.
Pamela Coles. I happened to be at your meeting on Saturday as well. And possibly some of the board members could serve better if they did the social emotional learning, what I saw and witnessed. I am a counselor. I have my master's in counseling. I have a career, I educate students in career counseling, personal counseling. I also am a substance awareness or abuse counselor. I don't like to use abuse. I like to call it awareness. What the speaker said on Saturday is really to have, it's ultimate to have the 4 times a year, because you will have, these are goals. You want to have your goals become outcomes. There's no measurable results. You will not report to us based on the vote just now. You will now not report to us on how you plan on measuring these results. It would be very simple. It becomes October through December, January through March, April through June. One report at the end of those 3 months, rather than the 4 months suggested. I want to know how you plan on implementing these goals. I know you have your study team. I also want to know what's available. Seems like you want to put the kids in a box. If they're not meeting certain measures, it becomes a box. What about the kids who want to light up the world, who are passionate about something? What about the kids who want to invent new things in shop? We used to have shop. We used to have economics. So I would like to know, is there a psychiatrist or a psychologist that's guiding you along along your pathway in terms of mental health? Can the kids have just plain old fun? Run around on the field every now and then. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coles. Any other members of the audience on the goals?
Christine Weinstein. I just had some questions about the addressing learning gaps. And you talk about assessments and such. When I hear assessments, I think testing, and my red flags go off. My son is really high anxiety about testing. And I'm just curious about what this testing involves. Is this formalized testing like we did with regular otherwise standard testing, where it's like 2 weeks of testing and their kids are there for only a couple hours a week? Is this testing throughout the year? Is it just within classrooms, or is there another way that we can do assessments rather than just through testing?
There'll be more information coming out on that, but it's something that'll be more formative, but there'll be a schedule, and you'll know exactly when we're doing it. And I think that letter on testing will be going out within the next week, I believe. Tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow.
Oh,
So
tomorrow.
there'll be a letter
Okay.
coming out on
Is
all district-wide assessments. Tomorrow it'll be coming out, so the whole community will have an idea what assessments their child will be taking this year.
Is that for the whole year, or is it just for the October one?
For the whole year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is this?
Lisa Yorman. I have a couple of questions. On the educational technology, is that going to be staying in as a goal? And whether it is or isn't, what does that entail?
No, it's not remaining a goal.
So what would that, if it had been a goal, what would that have entailed?
We covered that at the last board meeting. It's not a goal right now, so I think it would be, for us to speak about what ifs of something that's not. I think it would be kind of counterproductive at this point, because it's not a goal right now in front of us.
Okay, and then my next question would be, we talked about how much time a presentation would take. Why can't we do the goals and how far we've gone with the goals and objectives like we do in an IEP of just handing a piece of paper to each of the board members and to the public of how far we've come with each of the goals on paper?
Thank you for your comment.
And then my other question would be, is Bergen's Promise attached to Care Plus?
It's a linkage that can be provided should a student or a family need it. So it's a organization within the Bergen County area that could be provided as a link. So it is connected, but it's given out to families if certain, conditions arise that the counselors feel like this would be a good linkage point. Just like there are also other different mental health agencies that they could connect to as well.
So the counselor would reach out to the parent if they felt
It's one of many that we utilize. There's Bergen's Promise. There's Perform Care. There's other linkages that are out there within the community that are given to parents based on the existing conditions of students that are presented for mental health.
Is that linked to and I'm not sure if I have the right numbers, but is that linked to 211, that you dial 211 for mental health services? Or it's something you use on your phone to link into somebody for,
I think that I believe is connected to mobile response, but, and that's also another linkage. There's like different, we call them linkages, so there's community pieces that can be provided to families should they need them. Bergen's Promise, Crisis Mobile Response, Perform Care, DCP&P, things of that nature.
And are they
Mrs. Yorman, this is really not question and answer. You had a couple of questions I understood, but you're getting into the weeds about what's a linkage and what programs. And so,
well, no, what I'm trying to...
If you have particular questions, you can certainly email to the administration. I'll answer them. But we're not going to go into every single aspect of health and wellness and social emotional learning.
So I have one last question. Are parents made aware of 211 or any of the other services ahead of time before something can happen?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to read the public questions that came through the Google Drive. I'm going to not read the names, but just read the actual questions. One person submitted several questions. If kids can take their... Let me just make it a little bit easier. If kids can take their masks off at a restaurant table, why can't we let kids wear masks in halls and when they sit at desks for 30 minutes, 3 feet apart, learning? Give them the mask break, breathing break like they would at a restaurant so they can breathe and focus on work and not mask. Because we are following Governor Murphy's Executive Order 251, that is not one of the exceptions. Second question, can we get more supervision at TJ? Or I should say second comment or question. Can we get more supervision at TJ? The 5th and 6th grade are all out together. It's crazy amount of kids and no teachers can see all. And there are fights and people hurt. We need more supervision. Can we get it? We will certainly speak with our administrators. The air filter system we paid for, how come it isn't being used? And if it is, how? It is being used throughout the district. Next question or comment. We need to implement. We keep saying they are offered mask breaks, but kids are feeling uncomfortable asking it. Teachers can implement it in each period as an option for kids, so we can't truly get to them to have a mask break they want and need if they choose. They are not telling and offering it to the children. Well, I just shared something this week. I believe everybody received it about updates and reminders about masks and everything that has to do with COVID and our protocols, but we will be sure to bring this back to our buildings. And I have contacted the school many times about lack of supervision at lunch and recess, as my child has had. Many incidents, multiple days in a shortened time we were in school. and I was told they were fully staffed and things keep happening, I offered to volunteer. I want my child safe at school. Can we volunteer or get the full staff? I'm told we have to do a better job, so kids are getting bullied, hit, pushed down hills, and then they act. This shouldn't be an opportunity to do so if there is supervision. As you can see on this agenda, there's a significant amount of additional supports. Actually, 95% of the personnel on this agenda is actually additional lunch aides, before care aides, and after care aides, because we continue to keep hiring people to continue to support our schools. Thank you for your comments and questions.
Thank you.
Point.
No, we're still doing the public.
Mr. President, just a point of information. We have a board policy that states public comments, the name of the person have to be announced. So I will request, if we are following our bylaws, our policy, that the name of the members of the public that send comments be read to comply with our board policy. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll read them, no problem. Kristen Dundee.
No, they don't have, no, it's fine, but.
No, you
the
asked,
future-
I'd like to answer
The
it.
future, the next ones, because comments were read, we don't know who said what.
Kristen Dundero asked 4 questions, Matilda Tabor asked 1 question, and Robin Willens asked 1 question.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's it on the public comments on board goals. Now it's time for public comments on the agenda. So any agenda item public has a comment on, please step up, state your name, tell us which item you would like to speak about. Okay, seeing none. Board comments on the agenda. Board members, Mr. Santana.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. Just gotta get situated here. S1, S1, page 8. I would like to congratulate all of our retirees. Please enjoy your hard-earned retirement. It is great to come to a time of your life where you feel you have accomplished and achieved such a milestone, and I wish you sincerely the best, and I thank you as a board member and as a citizen of Fairlawn for your service. S2B, as in boy, page 8.
Page 9.
Okay. I will be supporting this item. S3B, B as in boy, page 9 and 10. The goals, I support the goals. However, I would like to encourage the administration to, and I know they will be following up with the rest of the technology audit, which is something that I would like to finally hear the words. There's nothing outstanding on the technology audit. Everything has been taken care of. And I, as a board member, have voted to fund whatever technology upgrades we have needed. And this is something that I want to make sure that when I'm no longer on the board is taken care of. Again, with S3B, our fellow board member, Ms. Fabelevic, made a very great suggestion. SAT classes. I really would like that to be something within one of the goals for career readiness. You know, Fairlawn, in my view, is a blue-collar town.
I'm sorry, where's that on the agenda? I'm missing something.
Well, it is referred to the goals. I would like to see the career readiness, S3B. We're voting on the district goals. I would like to see those SAT classes being taken seriously as something that our district can look forward to, so we can provide equity across the district in that regard. E3B, as in boy, page 12. This is a wonderful partnership with Montclair State University. I thank the administration for providing the backup information and rationale. I wish every district has such a key collaboration with higher learning institution like we do to benefit our faculty and students. P5G, page 21, Pole 5, giraffe. 5 clubs, Mr. Norcia, 5 clubs at Memorial are unfilled, and 7 are not filled at Thomas Jefferson. Mr. Norcia, is the expectation of the administration that teachers will take advantage of these stipend positions and we can have some people filling these clubs? Or if the clubs are not filled, eventually will the clubs be eliminated if there's no interest from the faculty to be an advisor for it?
Could be that. It could be right now that there's not an advisor that had put in for it. It could be that there's no students who want to be in the club, and I couldn't answer the question on that. It would be eliminated at another time because there may be a lot of interest next year on both ends.
Thank you. I will be abstaining from F6C, Frank 6, Cat, and I will be abstaining from F6D, Frank 6, Dog. Thank you, Mr. President.
You done, Ms. Santana? Thank you. Any other board members? Rita?
I have a couple of questions. The first question is the computers that are no longer usable, we throw them out. Are we recycling them or are we just throwing them in the trash?
We do send them to a recycler.
We do.
And we do get minimal payment for them.
Oh, good. Okay. The F7A, I don't understand. I know I asked this question before, but I still don't understand. Why is the district paying the $12,209? It's page 44 and 12 cents. I thought the installation will be done in-house.
No. The installation will not be done. The installation, the taking them down will be done in-house, not the actual installation. That was always part of the original price, was putting the tents up and putting the tables together, but the taking down was part of our price. Also, remember, as soon as we got these tents, they really weren't even completely up yet, and then the first hurricane came and hit us. So the guys that were putting them up had to take them back down again, and there was manpower and hours in that. Just to clarify that just a little bit further, because I know that the question was asked about tables. Our tables, there's clearly a shortage of steel right now that requires our tables to come in. Majority of the tables are, there's a certain amount of tables that aren't in yet, but the company is providing us all, we should be receiving them soon, folding tables for all the students out there. But as far as I'm concerned, every school has enough seating for them. They're just not the brand new tables yet. A lot of them are in right now, but there's still a portion of them that are still back ordered that we may not get for a couple of weeks.
Another question I have is, I think it's 76D, I think?
What is it?
76D? Yes, it's 76D. So my question is, if a person comes...
Wait, what letter? What?
Page 43.
Thank you.
So my question is, if somebody comes to the district to be before and after care, why are we sending them to ESS?
What is that? Why are we utilizing ESS for before care and after care?
No, what I'm saying is if somebody comes and says, I would like to be hired for before and after care. So my question is, why are we sending them to ESS? Can we hire them without ESS?
Yeah, we could.
Only if they want to be like on call.
So this would, we are actually, oh. Is it on? Sure.
Why, it's F6D on the bottom of page 43. Why are we utilizing ESS, our substitute service, for before care and after care if we're hiring before care and after care people? Is that accurate?
No,
No? Okay, then I don't know what
So
your
if
question is.
somebody comes in, let's pretend I come in before and after care, I'm not, and I say, can I be hired? And you say, yeah, sure. Why are we sending them to ESS? Can they be hired with us?
That's, yeah, that's
Do
what I
they have
said.
to be through ESS?
No, we're actually, if you, the agenda provides. So on the agenda, we actually have, under the community school, we have a number of staff members that are being hired for the before care and after care. Okay, they're being appointed to locations in the school. The individuals for ESS would be a situation where if one of our aftercare staff members, let's say who's scheduled to work the 3 to 6 shift, is unexpectedly sick, they can put into our absence management system, and an ESS substitute can pick that up. If we're able to internally cover for the individual, we will not go to ESS. But there are times where our staff, where the community school, the aftercare program, they need to have additional individuals and somebody's out sick or there's unexpected absence, and then they would put in almost just the way that a teacher puts in an absence.
I guess I'm phrasing it wrong, and I'm sorry. My question is, can you hire a substitute for before and after care without ESS? I guess that's my.
Yes, so what was occurring was, that's what we were doing prior to that. We would hire a grouping of substitutes on the agendas. You would see them as attachments. And what would occur is that the individuals would say, well, I'm just a sub. I don't have to, like, I'm not going to go. I'm just a sub. And so we began to realize that when we hired someone, appointed them, put them at a location, made them feel part of the location or part of the school, as like a lunchroom aide, it was more effective, because when you hired somebody just as a district substitute, they would say, well, I can't show up on Wednesday, I have things to do. And so the idea was that we just felt it was important to hire our staff to cover, and then have them input through the portal, the frontline portal, on those occasions where there would be a need for a substitute. And that would be.
Any other questions, Rita?
Thank you, Rita. Board members, Mr. Santana.
Also on F6D, this substitute morning care and aftercare individuals that will come through to this provider, they will go through a full background check, right?
Of course.
Yes, ESS does that, yes.
Okay. On F7D, Frank 7, David, I took a close look at the activities on the attachment from the PTAs and PTOs, and I know they're here. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, our children are very lucky to have such dedicated moms and dads who are part of the PTOs and PTAs. And, you know, the hard work that you do does not go unnoticed. I know before I got on the board, I was a member of the Forest PTA, and you have so many activities, and I'm really looking forward, because our children have missed out on many activities that could not have taken place because of the pandemic. So, you know, thank you so much for what you do, and I hope the members of the public who are here join the PTAs and the PTOs. And I hope the PTOs and the PTAs reach out to the community members who are here, because you do wonderful activities for our children. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Santana. Vladimir.
On item F6H, this is the approval of LabQ Laboratory Services Agreement. This item is very much related to health insurance, so I have to abstain because my employer requires me to do so, just for that reason.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Members of the public, any questions or comments? Oh, no, we did that already, never mind. All right, so I guess we'll call the roll. Look at. What? Oh, yeah, there is an addendum. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the following personnel item is brought to the Board for Education for Action. The appointment of the following personnel pending criminal history background check and employment verification in accordance with NJPLC 5 be approved. Name Daniel Avery, position bus driver, location Bergen Avenue, grade C, step 1, $65,916, effective November 1st, 2021. And then there's the code, and it's a replacement position. So that's going to be the addendum, hiring that bus driver. All right.
Point of order, Mr. President. Don't we have to vote on this item to include it into the agenda?
No.
Okay.
All right, could I have a motion for G1 and G2?
So moved.
Mike and Mark. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Favela-Vich. Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Abstain on G1. Abstain on G1, yes on G2.
Mr. Aitken.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. A motion for S1 through S3.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Mr. Santana. Roll.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes, abstain on S2B.
S2B is in boy.
Correct.
Mr. Aitken.
Yes.
Mrs. Favela-Vich.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. A motion for E1 through E3.
So moved.
Second.
I didn't get who moved that. Who moved that?
Ronnie.
Ronnie, thank you.
Mr. Aitken.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan.
Yes.
Mrs. Favela-Vich.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. I have a motion for P1 through P6.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Spindell and second by Mr. Rosenberg.
Right.
It was
Oh,
Mr.
no.
Barbarulo.
It was Ron again.
Okay, thank you.
It's those baritones throw us off.
Mrs. Mahan.
Yes.
Mr.
No, that'd be
Santana.
Yes.
Mrs. Favela-Vich.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Mr. Aitken.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. A motion for SE1 through SE3.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Wilkin.
And Mr. Santana. Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Mrs. Favela-Vich.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Mr. Aitken.
Yes.
Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. I have a motion for F1 through F.
C1 through C2?
Oh, Oh, did I miss one? C?
Yeah, C1,
Page 39?
Hold on a minute.
C1 and C2.
C1 through C3, thanks, Ron.
So moved.
Second.
That was Mr. Spindell.
Thank you. Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mrs. Pavelovich?
Yes.
Mr. Itkin?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
We're voting on the F items?
No.
C1 and 2.
Oh, I apologize, I got confused. Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. Motion for F1 through F7.
So moved.
Second.
Julie and Mr. Santana.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes, but abstain on F7E.
Does Mr. Rosenberg have to abstain on?
F6C, Mike.
Hold on. Oh, and abstain on F6C. That's the one you said? Yes. Thank you.
Mrs. Pavelovich?
So I'm going to vote no for F6D. I'm going to vote no for F7A. I'm going to abstain on F6C. And I'm going to abstain on F6H. Everything yes. Make sense?
Mr. Itkin?
Abstain on F6H, like Harry. Yes, and everything else.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes, abstain on F6C.
F6D is in dog, correct?
No.
C is in cat.
C is, sorry. Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Abstain on F6C, Frank 6, Cat. Abstain on F6D, Frank 6, David. Yes on the rest.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. And then we have addendum number 1, approval of appointment. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please. That was Mike and Mr. Santana, I believe.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Itkin?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Pavelovich?
Abstain.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. All right, that ends the action items. Now we're going to turn it over to the public for comments on other business. So you can just step up and state your name.
Good evening again. Roy Gal. I have comments regarding fifth graders in the TJ middle school. Going back to the beginning where the referendum was announced, we had meetings with the principals, whether it's at Radburn or at TJ. We were promised that the fifth and sixth graders will have houses, will have teams. We were promised that the building will be used almost solely by the fifth and sixth graders. They'll be treated differently, and it will be a transition for them to go into the real middle school. We were promised that the eighth graders won't really mingle with the fifth graders. They won't be in the same area, different lunch breaks, hallways. And in fact, we have eighth graders that have lockers right next to fifth graders. They have the same lunch break, they mingle, they interact quite often. And I've been hearing a lot of issues from my fifth grader. Also, we were also promised that with the fifth graders, they will have less teachers, less transitions between classes. My fifth grader has 2 minutes to transfer from one class to another. They have 5, 6, 7 teachers a day. Again, this was not what we were promised when the kids were supposed to transition and to move, 9, 10-year-olds into the middle school. Also, a lot of the fifth graders are not really using the new wing. It seems that the 7th and 8th are using it as much as the 5th and 6th. Again, this was not what we were promised. You would look at some of these 9-year-olds where they have to carry the math binder, the notebooks, the reading, everything. They try and carry it, and they're struggling. My fifth grader, he's a big, almost 11-year-old. He's struggling, which we've never had before in any of the other, any other year. Last year we said, COVID, it's okay, things are different. But again, I feel as a parent that said yes to the referendum, that this was really not what we signed up for.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Gall.
Thank you.
Hi, Irene Kogan. A friend of mine wanted to be here tonight, but she had a family emergency, and she asked me to follow up on this on her behalf. And there was an incident that transpired here in Fair Lawn High, where around 9/11, there was some material taught in a classroom that was very opinion-based, and there were some other issues there too. I know that it was taken up with you, Mr. Norcia, and she hasn't heard anything back. She had a family emergency with a health issue, so she's out of state. She asked me if I could please ask if there's anything that's been done regarding that investigation. I think you know what I'm referring to. I could elaborate, and if there's any resolution or what would be needed to further the
No,
investigation.
I'm not going to elaborate in public, but she will definitely hear back from us when we're ready to reach out. Thank
That's
you.
fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Dana Clark. I'm not going to take up a lot of time tonight. I just came to actually express some gratitude. My goal is to stand before you and just share how proud I am that our district is doing work that will ensure that our kids are offered an equitable educational experience and that you're supporting the emotional and social needs that they have. Clearly, the results of the survey. Sure. The results of that survey show that I'm not alone in my thoughts, and the caregivers and educators within our community understand that in order for our children to benefit from all of the wonderful learning experiences that are offered here, they first need to feel seen and safe. And these aren't just parental hunches. The truth is backed up by tons of educational research. I want you to know that I appreciate the fact that the values of our community and the educators here led to equity work before the new law addressing equity came into being. I think that many of us share this belief that every child deserves the opportunity to learn and feel valued in their classroom communities. And we're so grateful that our schools are working hard to ensure that this is the experience that Fairlawn offers to our kids. Please know that many of us in the community is behind this work. And we encourage the Board of Education to engage in the equity study along with the school's educators. And many of us, myself included, would gladly contribute in any way that the schools saw fit. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Good evening once again. Christopher Antonelli. This is a hard subject to tackle, but as everybody's aware, there was a sexual assault that took place a number of years ago in our district, that I believe some things need to be addressed as to why some of the things may be happening. And what it comes down to is professionalism. I have 4 kids that have either gone through this district or are still in this district. And what I find is that the teacher-student relationship has become more of a friend relationship. Seems that students are too close, and there's the line between friendship and authority or friendship and respect is gone. There's also teachers that dress inappropriately that I've seen over the last, I don't know, 20 years. And there are also students that dress inappropriately. Something needs to be done about this. A teacher is in a position of authority. They're not there to be a student's best friend. They are there to guide them, to counsel them, to educate them. First and foremost, educate them. That's what they're there for. They're not there to be their friend. They're not there to do things with them other than school-sanctioned activities school-sanctioned activities, and that's it. Students should never be showing up at a teacher's house unless it's a family member. This is something that really needs to be thought about long and hard, not just in Fairlawn, but in this entire country. There are too many instances of students sleeping with teachers, sexual assault, all sorts of disgusting stuff. It's you, the board, that needs to make policies that redraw those lines where students understand that teachers are authoritarian in some degree over them and not their friends. I really don't know how any other way to say it, because that's basically how a lot of people see it.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you got it. I hear you. I thank you for your comments, and I really do hear you. It doesn't fall on deaf ears. But know that this is a police matter, and this is a personnel issue, and I just can't comment on it any further. But thank you.
I understand you can't comment on it, and that particular incident, yes, that is a police matter. It is under investigation. I'm talking in general. I'm talking previous years, this year, and going forward. That's all.
I understand, Mr. Antonelli. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Pamela Coles. I am confident, I want to ask the board members who were not aware of their committee alliances and duties if they found what committees that they were on from the retreat.
Okay, we're not going to poll individual board members, but I will say that all the committees are on the website, and all board members are aware of what committees they're on.
Okay, great, because as of Saturday, they were not aware of what committees they were on.
All right, we're not going to
I
go back
know
and
we're
forth.
not gonna do
I
this.
understand that's what you think, but go ahead.
No,
Ms.
it's not what I think. It's what was spoken, what was said by the board member who was on that particular committee. Came from their mouth to my ears. Secondly.
No, I would like to just jump in. Let me just explain the process, because I was at the retreat on Saturday as well. The process of committees in January, the board members ask to be on certain committees. They fill out a form of what committees they would like to be on. After the committees are there, it is then decided what committees the board members are on. They serve on those committees for the whole entire year up until the following January, when the same process happens again. The committee assignments have been on our website since last January. We've had committee meetings. Every committee member knows what committees they are on. So Saturday was a retreat where we just had a healthy dialogue about the committee process, committee structure. Do we want to continue like this? Do we want to go in a different fashion? But it was a board retreat where you work through some of these conversations and have good, healthy dialogues. But it wasn't that no board member didn't know what committees they're on, because they've been on our website since January, and we've been meeting for the last year now. But I thank you for your comment.
Well, the board member said that she personally said that she did not know what committee she was on. And I went looking on the website, and it's difficult to find the committees. And I'm certain she probably knows, or she doesn't know, or she does not know. But there may be some areas that are not being addressed, regarding committees. You have a slew of committees, and I'm all in favor if you can narrow them down, not to expend people's time, because this does require a lot of work, being on a board, and all the committees that you have to attend to. Secondly, I just want to address the football field and the condition of the football field. It's an absolute disgrace. I put a lot of money. My money goes into the school taxes. And my request is that this field be cleaned up and be pristine as a reflection of Fairlawn. Because currently, it's an absolute disrespectful disgrace. So if we can clean them up, and our seniors like to walk on the field during the off hours, there it is, perfect timing. During the off hours, and it's great exercise being outdoors, and they can walk freely. So if we can clean up the field, that would be absolutely fabulous. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the public, because I would like to show you, here is our website. If you go to Board of Education, right there, you will see Board of Ed committee assignments. I can't speak for who knew or who didn't know, but I'm just showing you that it is on our website, and here are the committee assignments right here for every board member for the full year. So it is very user-friendly and easy to find. So, thank you.
Any other members of the public want to make comments? Seeing none. Board members. Rita Vlad.
Can I read the public comments from here?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I forgot about this.
Public comments on
Was
the
it Rita
Google
Vlad,
Doc?
Julie? Remind me when to get back.
Can teachers implement mask breaks? It was the same question from public comments before. Teachers are implementing mask breaks, but we will follow up with our administrators on that. It was the same person as before, I had said. Thank you. Next question. Thank you to the administration for addressing the drop-off and pick-up challenge. This is Robin Willens. Thank you to the administration for addressing the drop-off and pick-up challenges at TJ Milnes. The changes made to traffic pattern and parking options has had an immediate positive impact and has greatly benefited the safety of the students. Having a police officer on Phillip Street specifically monitoring traffic has been a tremendous help. Police presence there has been a direct effect on everyone's behavior. Knowing that you can be stopped and potentially ticketed has resulted in much better compliance. As a parent with a child at TJ who also lives in the neighborhood, I'm hoping that a police officer can remain there long-term. Thank you. I do want to comment. I want to thank our Director of Security who's out here, Rob Lacamara, our Fairlawn Police Department, our buildings and grounds and maintenance guys, our middle school principals, all of our principals who were involved. We had a meeting last Wednesday, I believe it was. We had drones looking at traffic pattern. We were constantly looking, we had our architect and engineers there talking about whether we want to do a traffic study in the future if it didn't improve, which it did, so that'll hopefully save us money, which is good. But it was definitely a collaborative team effort. If there's one thing about this town is everybody comes together for the greater good. And that speaks volumes of our Fairlawn Police Department and how well we work together with them. So I'd like to especially thank Chief Cowles and his team for working so well with us. We have 2 middle schools in town, and the attendance numbers are shockingly different. TJ has almost 1,100 kids, and Memorial has 600. Can we do something to make it more equal? TJ is bursting at the seams, and the Board of Ed consider redoing the elementary school split so that we can be equally dispersed. My boys tell me it is so crowded in TJ, especially in the hallways and stairwells, with about 120 staff in TJ that it's approximate 1 to 100 teacher ratio. I don't think that's enough. I think that's a conversation for another time, redistricting. But yeah, Memorial does have 600. TJ does have about a little over 1,000 students now at this point. Those are the numbers we always anticipated from our demographic studies. But like I said, I think, thank you for the comment, but I think it's a conversation for another time if that's something the board ever wanted to consider. Later. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it on
That's it.
Google? Okay.
Done.
Rita, Vlad, Julie. Rita, shoot.
Hi, can you hear me? My first question is, first I want to thank you for posting the mental health workshop.
Rita, hold on a second. Hold on. I said before Nick went, I said Rita, Vlad, Julie. I said that, okay? All right, thank you. Rita, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for posting the online mental health workshop for parents. I only have one question. Care Plus, the contract we have, it says 10 mental health sessions for parents and only 5 were posted. Can you elaborate why?
Because we may pick some topics later and add some additional ones.
Will there be any for high school and middle school? Because it's all elementary. Or maybe I misunderstood.
I'll get back to you on that. We'll look into it.
Okay. The technology audit, when will the board hear update of what we need to do, what is done?
It's going to be on an education committee meeting soon,
Okay, when will the whole board hear it? Like
after it goes to the education committee.
board goals, when is the board going to set goals? Mr. President, maybe?
Talk about it in October.
In the meeting? It's gonna be part of the agenda?
Well, I'll talk to Nick and we'll figure out a schedule.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vlad?
In July, we spoke about public participation at the board meeting, and after some discussion, we decided that on the next meeting, which was end of July, we'll use Google Forms, and that's what we're doing now at the monthly meetings, use Google Forms. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be mistaken, I believe at that same meeting, we also discussed that we will explore the feasibility to see if it's...
Explore what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch you.
Explore feasibility, practicality.
Oh, okay.
If it is technically possible to have members of the public phone into the meetings. So do you have an update? Has anything happened?
We're going to have a policy meeting in October. I'm going to put that in as one of the policies.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie?
I just first wanted to mention something similar to what one of our community members who used the Google form was, that there has been a really significant and drastic positive difference in the traffic patterns in front of TJ and Memorial this week alone, and I am extremely appreciative of the collaboration between our administration and our security, as well as the Fair Lawn Police Department. Thank you guys so much for continuing to work to improve and keep our children safe. Second, welcome home to Aiden D'Angelo, and thank you to the Lindcrest PTO and our administration and the community at large for coming together to support this child and this family. It's why I'm raising my children here, and I'm so grateful that we can come together to do so. And finally, I just wanted to mention...
give her a round of applause. Just to piggyback on that, yes, welcome home to Aiden. It's great to have him home. It was unbelievable to see the other day how many people came together for the drive-by for Aiden, which was amazing. I am fortunate that I can now say that I've come to know the D'Angelo family, especially Dad, Joe, who is just a special human being. It's just, and we will still be there for that family throughout the remainder of their educational career. And we're just so thrilled to see 3.5 months later that young boy is home, and he will be back in Lindcrest really soon where he belongs. So thank you, and thank you to the community, and thank you to the D'Angelo family for really opening up their homes to all of us.
And then lastly, I just wanted to mention another local family, the Mercedes family. They are a Radburn-based family, and they were looking to find ways to support all of our children in building a sense of character and leadership and confidence in providing opportunities for volunteership. So they founded Little Citizens, which is a nonprofit organization to support our children in supporting others. This month already, they have completed a school supply drive earlier this month, and they are now holding a costume drive. I know that Farida Mercedes is reaching out to our public schools to see if we can put drop boxes in all of the elementary and middle schools. But in the meantime, if everybody could take a look in their house and see if they have gently used costumes, sizes 12 months to 12 years, to support a costume drive, every single child, especially now more than ever, since we are finally able to participate in more things, should be able to have access to costumes that they can wear. So take a look in your closets, take a look in your basements, and right now there is a drop box at Fairlawn Public Library. And happy birthday, Jean.
Thank you very much. That's how I like to spend every birthday. Any other board members? Mr. Santana.
Happy birthday, Mr. Banta.
Thank you.
Where do we start? Okay. I agree with Ms. Fabic. The technology, I do not agree that the technology audit should be brought into a committee. I think it should be brought into the whole board, because not everything in the technology audit relates to one specific committee. So because not everything in the technology audit does not involve only one specific committee, I don't think that is the best, most efficient and effective way to communicate to the board. Because if you think about it, in the technology audit, there are fiscal issues, there are educational issues, there are many issues. So I think the most cost-effective time-wise will be to present the technology audit to the board. This has been something that I wish it would have been everything taken care of already. And I have been very supportive with my votes as a board member to fund whatever needs to be funded so we can take care of the technology audit outstanding issues. So it is not acceptable to me as a board member to pass this to a committee when it doesn't apply just to one committee. And I don't want the information to stay at one committee. I want everyone to be on the same page. The board goals, I also agree with what Ms. Pavelevic stated. But I have I think we all do respect, Mr. President. I think the board goals there should be some communication with the rest of us. When are we gonna do this? And how long the process will be before we actually have a date and a process. I think it should be, we should have some consensus among the board for the board goals before we actually have a meeting. I emailed the policy chair, I emailed you, Mr. President, 2 policies that I would like the board to review and go over. Code of Ethics, policy number 3211. Inappropriate staff conduct, policy number 3281. And I'm not putting you on the spot because I did email you this 7 days ago and I did not hear a word. So since we have a policy meeting in October, I would like to respectfully request from my fellow board members, since our primary responsibility is policy making, that we review the Code of Ethics policy 3211 and inappropriate staff conduct policy 3281. I strongly believe not from a micro point of view, but from a macro point of view, district-wide, in the time that I had been on the board, it is in the best interest of our district, and it is in the best interest of our children that we review these policies and make any necessary changes as the board see fit. So if we can have an agreement now, a thumbs up, if we can include these two policies in our next policy meeting, that we can discuss, at least have a discussion, because we want to make sure that our policies are up to date, especially these two policies that I just mentioned. So if we can have an agreement on these two policies, to
Don't
include
bother,
them in
thumbs
the
up.
policy.
We'll do those two policies. I'll put them on.
I'm sorry?
I'll put them on.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No, well, we are having, oh, let me stop. We are having an audit, but that doesn't mean we're not going to look at specific policies that need to be updated that are probably, should be looked at. We are having the audit when we get the book back, but it doesn't mean we're not going to do anything in the meantime. But I'll put them on. I'll put them on.
Thank you. And I just want to say this about the audit, the policy audit. The policy audit does not stop the responsibility of each one of us to make sure a policy that is outdated, that needs to be changed, gets changed. I don't want to wait for a policy audit company to come over here and audit a policy that I know deep in my heart and in my conscience that needs to be updated.
30 seconds, Ms.
So
Santana.
this is where I'm coming from. So I don't want any audit, any company to do what I need to do and what I know is right in my heart and in my mind. So I'm not going to wait for a company to tell me to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing by our children. Thank you, Mr. President.
You don't have to wait for a company because they already did it. We
Okay.
actually have the audit, so that's why we're going to start in October and go by their first recommendations, and every month move along. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Yeah, well, we'll get a policy meeting put together, and we'll get policies that we're going to talk about specifically out, and then we'll talk about the policy book audit. Rita?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. The mental health for parents, since it's online, can it be recorded in case they can't come to this time, so that, and maybe post it on our website so that in case they can't?
No, they already are being recorded.
Oh, so the September one is already online?
I'm not sure if the September one or the ones all moving forward will be recorded, but we already addressed that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other board members that didn't speak this round? Any other board members at all? Okay, that being said, our next public meeting is, the policy meeting is October 4th, I think I saw a date someplace. And then, what's the next?
October 21, the regular monthly board meeting.
October 21, the regular monthly board meeting. Okay. All right, could I have a motion to recess into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor? All right, let's take a 5-minute break. We're going to go back up to the library for the closed session.